Security is one of the most important institutions of state in Nigeria and indeed anywhere in the world, apart from the traditional mandate of protecting the country's territorial integrity. The Nigerian military is also charged with ensuring internal cohesion. All over the world, the military is authorized to use coercive instruments, and of course, including weapons in defending the motherland by combating actual or perceived threats. The state of insecurity in the country in the last 10 years, characterized by banditry, insurgency, has put the Nigerian military in sharper focus. Of course, the terrorist Boko Haram activities have created heavy security burden on Nigeria with added adverse effects on the economy, resulting in mainly from dislocation of communities and creation of glitches in the productive chain. Welcome to Standpoint. I am Ademola Lawrence. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on June 21st appointed new service chiefs after he retired the former in a bid to reposition the security architecture to battle insecurity in the country. In a decisive move to aim at addressing escalating insecurity in Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu relieved the service chiefs inherited from President Buhari administration of their appointment and replaced them with the new ones. It is perceived as a move to re-engineer the nation's security architecture, aimed at refocusing the battle against insecurity and easing the daunting challenges of the country in facing that regard the appointment of the new service chiefs, which also marks a significant turning point. But according to many Nigerians, learning the lessons of the past is necessary to ensure that these new leaders possess the requisite coordination, ability, vision, and commitment to protect the lives and property of the citizens of Nigeria. The 2023 Global Terrorism Index ranked Nigeria as the 8th most terrorized country globally, while in 2022 dropping from its 6th position in 2021. Joining me to talk about this, of course, is the security expert Dickson Osajie, of course, who joined me through phone, and in United Kingdom, Olabode Oseni, who is also a public affairs analyst. Of course, in the course of the show, we have former DSS Director in Lagos, Seyi Adetaya, who will join us in the course of the show. Good day, gentlemen. Let me start from you, Mr. Olabode. Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Olabode. Okay, so Mr. Dickson, if you can hear me, I want to ask you, can you hear me, Mr. Dickson?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, so first of all, let's look at, do you think that what President Tinubu has done in appointing the service chiefs is the right peg in the right hole? Let's start from there first.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon and happy weekend, Nigerians. It's a good development having a new president, in person of President Bola Tinubu, having his own service chief, his own command system, because it has been the ritual as each president comes on board and have their own service chief, those they believe that can work with them in line with their vision, in line with their vision. So the new service chief are welcome on board, and I think the president made a very fantastic selection. All the generals are battle tested. Their genotype is soldiering. Their blood group is combat. And right from Lagbaja, the chief of army staff, the chief of defense staff, army, naval staff, and air staff, they are all guys that have been putting on the military boots in the past 40 years. So they understand what battle assessment is all about. They understand what the officers and men are going through in the battlefield. They understand the risk Nigeria is being faced with. They understand the threat Nigeria is being faced with. They also understand the multidimensional security threat Nigeria is undergoing right now. So what matters mostly now is for them to carry out an effective application of their military strategy, what they've learned over the past 40 years in their military career. For me, I think what I'm going to advise them, the first thing, my first advice to them is for them to be very, very ruthless and heartless to the state, to the enemy of the state. Because if you go to the southeast, northeast, northwest, and every nooks and cranny of Nigeria, you will discover that most of this enemy of the Nigerian state are ruthless and heartless. So this is where necessary evil comes to play. So this new service chief must apply necessary evil against these wicked enemies of our dear nation, Nigeria, and they must be ruthless and heartless. So that is my advice for the new service chief. And I also appreciate President Bola Tinubu for these fantastic steps, because I am so convinced that the President Bola Tinubu-led administration will take Nigeria to its promised land.
Okay, I still want to stay with you. This sounds more like a ritual that we have in the Nigerian governance system, where a new sheriff comes in town and, of course, change the service chiefs to suit their own agenda. What do you think this implication might be for our governance?
Well, it's like Ladi said, it seems like a ritual. Most people say that, well, it's just initial, like a local parlance, initial gra-gra. For me, I do not believe it's initial gra-gra, because one thing our leaders have failed to understand, that is, I'm talking about the CEC, the previous CEC, they failed to understand that they have voted into power to take Nigeria out from the state of insecurity. I listened to your brief talking about the global terrorism index, the position we are presently in the global terrorism index. I tell you for free, that's not a good position to be. If someone would ask how is Nigeria doing, then they will say Nigeria is doing negatively well in the global terrorism index. If you go into the global terrorism database as well, the number of people being killed in Nigeria is disturbing. Go into the global peace index, Nigeria is one of the, after 2022, Nigeria is in the 150-something or so most peaceful nation. This tells you that we've allowed the state of insecurity linger for so long. Would you blame? Sometimes people say you have to blame the military. Sometimes people say you have to blame the president. For me, I think I will blame the military because the military are solely responsible for the internal and the external, for protecting Nigeria from internal and external aggression. Internal aggression in the sense that those who sit in our own territory and make our own territory ungovernable are internal enemies. As it stands, Nigeria is not even suffering from external aggression. What happens if we have an attack from nations that surround Nigeria or nations of the world coming to attack Nigeria? That's not the case. What we're suffering right now is internal aggression, who tells you that some group of criminal elements, taking some territory to their own hands, killing Nigerians every day, videoing their action, putting it on the internet. Those are the internal aggression we are being faced with. And if we are being faced by internal aggression, that tells you that the battle is going to be systematic. Because if the military wants to go on a full-blown war, that means innocent lives will be eliminated. So how do you attack such kind of aggression? You need to apply systematic approach, and that's where counter-insurgency comes to play. Most people think military might alone will eliminate terrorism. No, it can never. Till eternity, military might will never eliminate terrorism. The only thing military might will do, they will keep on killing, and they will kill till eternity. So the new service chief must integrate counter-insurgency, their counter-insurgency approach with the people's might, political might. That's what we talk about, political might. We need to know what is the problem, where are these guys getting their fighters from, their enlistment methodology. I will tell you for free that mostly like Boko Haram in the past years, their enlistment methodology is they're just capitalizing on vulnerable Nigerians, the jobless Nigerians. Sometimes there's an adage that says the jobless man or an idle man is the devil somewhere, or the devil works over. So for me, the military needs to look at the political problem as well, and also look at the security challenges. Then apply what we call an enemy-centric approach. That is, go after this enemy, decimate them by day, hit them so hard by night, be very, very ruthless against these guys, so that they will not find the Nigerian space governable for themselves, where they are taking shelter from.
Okay, let me bring in public affairs analyst and talking about Olabode Oseni. Mr. Olabode, let's contextualize this particular issue. You know, some persons will say when the president appointed these new service chiefs, they want to put into the federal character probably where this person is from, where this person is supposed to be from here. You know, this particular person is supposed to come from this particular region. Do you think that the president have actually, you know, demonstrated that particular power in trying to make sure that the unity of the country also is being sustained by appointing these service chiefs from the 6 geopolitical zones of the country? Mr. Olabode Oseni.
Can you come again? The line is like funny again.
Okay, so I was saying that I wanted us to contextualize the issue at hand. You know, some persons have said, okay, did the president really went around, you know, in picking the new service chiefs from the 6 geopolitical zones of the country and in the spirit of the federal character? Do you think that the president have actually done this to make sure that the country is united in its front to fight the security challenges that we have in the country?
Thank you very much for having me. Ordinarily, the issue of federal character, even though it's specified in the Constitution of Nigeria, it shouldn't normally be the major area of parameter to be used to pick up on the quality, the kind of people that can do the job. I also believe that it's the commander-in-chief that has the prerogative to pick on people whom he believes he can work with. Federal character, again, when you're talking about security, security is the most important part of governance because specifically specified in the Constitution that life, property, and so on and so forth come first. And so when it comes to the issue of security in Nigeria, especially what the federal government of Nigeria, what the government of Nigeria has to contend with many years back now, the issue of Boko Haram and some other local problems and so on, I would have thought that this time around, the capacity, the ability of the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should be what he should use to pick on different service chiefs in different areas. And I think he's done that. Looking at the selections of the people he already lined up, they are of very good character. I think they are very good. They have done very well in their line of occupation. I mean, and really and honestly, all we just need to do now is just to take advantage of the National Security Advisor, Nuru Badu, to seal everything up. And finally, what is also very, very important is the commander should start calling the shots. You should give the orders, tell them and say, you know what, this is what I want. It must be done. Whatever you need to make your job easy, you're going to get them. And I think that is what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done.
Okay, so I'm still staying with you, Mr. Olabode. You know, this kind of situation, because their job is basically to secure the country, and of course, it also linked to the fact that economy is involved, because when the state is secure, that's when investors can come into the country and probably put money into your economy. What do you think that we need to go from here? You know, now the president has said, this is my economic policy. But for us to achieve that, the security of lives and property must properly be put into play. How do you think we need to go forward from here?
Like I said, security is the key, is the foundation of everything in any governance. That comes first. And as I said, the Constitution is clear on security when it stated that the property, lives, and so on must be properly secured. And I can imagine that investors from all over the world, even local investors, will feel happy, will feel safe if they have to invest in a secured environment. So at the initial stage, I don't think much money can be said that we cannot invest enough to secure security in a country like Nigeria with a vast land. But then again, I also want to use this opportunity to say that, yeah, we can spend so many billions or whatever on the security apparatus, but the most important thing is also the people, the local people, especially where the rampage of Boko Haram is going on. They also need to be secured. They also need to be educated. They also need to be backed up with social security, that they feel safe, that they cannot be just easily taken away by the marauders, the Boko Haram people. So yeah, we cannot overemphasize the need to have a secured environment, a secure area to make sure that security comes first, so investment can also be protected. If we have a loose security, obviously people from different kind of the world, give an example, he's presently in France or whatever, they will want to come and invest a dime of their money because they think you invest the money today and tomorrow Boko Haram or whoever insecurity people will just come and mess everything up. So security is key. It's very, very important. And I think it's going the right way. It's doing the right way to make sure that security is very, very important. It's key to good governance.
Okay, Mr. Dickson, when Olabode Oseni was talking, he talked about the fact that, security is very important because it's the lifeline for any economy to thrive. And you look at what the president said when he assumed office, and said there must be an interagency collaboration between the Nigerian military. Looking at that, there's been much talked about that there need to be an interagency, there needs to be a sharing of intelligence between these military arms of government. How do you think that we can best address this, looking at the current situation that the country is actually facing in security?
Well, that's a fantastic question, and I think I agree with the point Mr. Olabode made in respect of security being the topmost priority. In life, and anything we do, there's what we call a hierarchy of control or priority. You prioritize what are the immediate needs of the Nigerian people. Basically, the immediate need here in Nigeria, without it's only the living that can, clamor for, economic and financial sustenance. So for me, I think security is the topmost priority, and that is where the military needs to understand that every amount the government spends in security, they must, give us a return on it. That is where return on security investment come to play. ROSI, return on security investment. So no country invests on security and still have their people being killed like chicken, have their military being slaughtered like chicken by these criminal elements. So the military, first of all, must understand that the number one essence of, the number one reason why the new service chief and minister must understand that the number one reason why they have been appointed is for them to give President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and this administration return on security investment. What are the return on security investments? Nigerians should be able to move around without being intimidated or being coerced in any given location across board in the 923,000 square kilometers being our landmarks in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nigeria must be able, to trade and carry out their businesses without being intimidated or being kidnapped or being killed. Because as it stands now, we're having a lot of kidnapping, high rates of, banditry and terrorism. So for me, the military must give us return on investment. Then coming back to what you said about intelligence, when the president resumed office, I was so impressed that his first place of visit was the counter-terrorism center, where the former NSA gave him a brief about on what they've done so far in respect of that center. And the president told them very clear, loud and clear, that, hey, guys, nobody should be holding information anymore. This era is not an era for anyone to hold an information, because the truth must be told. The service chief, the previous service chief, before the last one, there was no, effective collaboration. I only discovered that the last service chief that just left now some few days back have more collaboration than the previous ones. That is the Burutai and General Sadiq's team. They were not. They don't have effective collaboration. And if service chiefs or agencies don't have effective collaboration, the Nigerian people will suffer. So anyone holding information should be looked at as a treasonable offense, because any information you hold could be detrimental to the survival of the Nigerian state. And that is why the Nigerian government needs to build a unified command center where all military, security agency, police, civil defense will all, have their representative in that unified command center for information and intelligence gathering. Because when you get an intelligence simply means something new. If, for example, there's a fight taking place in Oshodi, for example, and you are trying to inform TVC that there's a fight going on in Oshodi, you are telling them something new. And if TVC are already aware of that fight going on at Oshodi, it's no longer an intelligence. So intelligence simply means something new, getting to know the plan of the enemy. What is the plan of the enemy? What are they trying to do to decimate the structure of the Nigerian state? What is the enemy trying to do to demoralize the democratically elected government of the Nigerian state? That is intelligence gathering. Do not allow your enemy to gather intelligence on you and strike. And that is where counterintelligence comes to play. Because while we talk about intelligence, which has to deal with state protection, we should also be looking at counterintelligence, an approach in which you need to go and get the information or the plan of the enemy before they strike. If you don't have an effective counterintelligence network, this enemy will keep on striking the Nigerian state free of charge and put the Nigerians in a painful situation. So it's a good development and a good approach, and the president has made it loud and clear. No one has the right to hold information. Anyone seen or any agency seen holding information, the head of that agency should be arrested. Because I've seen some time ago why an information is out there, the army will release their own information, the civil defense will release their information, Navy will release their own, TSS will release their information, even LASMA will release their information, road safety will release their information. There's no unified purpose, no unified command. Any country that does not have a unified command control center, that country is not ready to protect its people. So as it stands, we need to have a unified command center so that we'll have an effective intelligence agency. Great nations of the world, America is an intelligence-driven nation. Great nations of the world, Russia, China, they are all intelligence-driven nations. Any country that is not intelligence-driven, the country is planning to fail. So we must not plan to fail, we must plan to succeed. And that is why this new service chief must see intelligence-driven, must see intelligence as their number one priority to protect the Nigerian state.
Okay, let me come to you, Mr. Olabode. It is sweet to say that we must have intelligence gathering, and those intelligence gathering must be very solid. But there's the aspect of the intelligence that you gather, the equipment that you need to process those intelligence is also very important. And for Nigeria, there is a poor aspect of equipment. How do we move from gathering those intelligence and having proper equipment that will process this intelligence that we have, that will make us put us on the world stage in terms of properly harnessing the intelligence that you have gathered and properly disseminating it for the use of the people?
Thank you. The situation in Nigeria calls for a total overall of so many things. We need to overhaul so many things. There's a big rot in the country. That is the truth. As much as I have no doubt in my mind that this new government, the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is going to make a lot of difference in all what has been happening. Talking about hoarding information, like my colleague in the studio said, I also said that in order to achieve a good harnessation of information that the military chiefs or this department need, this agency need, is also to have also back up the people. The people, you cannot just isolate the people from good basic things of life. They don't have light, they don't have water, they don't have good housing, they have no education and many other things. They are so susceptible to let's choose the Boko Haram people. They come there and then they can buy them away with 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira. You must have prepare your people in such a solid way. The comparison that in America or in other civilized lands is because the ordinary man, I live in the UK. If there's anything going on that I need to report to government, I will not be asked. And nobody can just come and give me chicken change, not to give the information to the authority. We don't have that. And I do appreciate that. That could also be part of the problem that the government needs to look into. And that's why I used the word last time, the multitasking of this government cannot be too much. Government must start using all the octopus hands to make sure everywhere is being touched. There's no part of government cannot be done in isolation. You want to bring everybody on board at the different level, at the different things, do different things. The service chiefs cannot succeed if the foot soldiers are not well taken care of. The equipment that we are talking about is not going to be properly utilized if we don't have trained, skilled soldiers. So all these are the things. It's not going to be overnight. But like the way things are coming out to me, I think this government is going to do everything possible to make sure that all these areas are harnessed, are put together in order to work together in clockwise. So just the gap is not going to be too much. But as it is now, there's a big gap. An average Almankeri or somebody in this rural area who has nothing can just be taken, can be bought for peanuts. All that has to be, the government need to bridge that social deficiency and everything. Without that, the result might be challenged. And like we all agree, we cannot afford to let a big deficit, a big gap between governance and security. Otherwise, the investors might not be feel secured, and even ordinary people will not be secured. It's just a good example of some area where the Fulani people, according to information, I'm using the information, where they go to farmers, to go and kill farmers, rape people, go and do sort of silly things. All that has to be gradually eliminated by making sure that the fencing and the security of that area is tightened up, is beefed up. So it's the only way to solve the problem. We can spend billions in buying latest equipment from America, from Germany, from everywhere. But like I said, if the soldiers, if the people around are not supporting that effort, it might not help all that much.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're still talking about the task ahead for the new service chiefs, as, of course, they take the stand and work towards the agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is still Standpoint on TVC News. But first, let's also bring you the handing over ceremony of the service chiefs. This was held yesterday in the city of Abuja.
Ready for inspection, sir.
It's the final lap of the handing over ceremony at the Armed Forces Complex, Abuja. At the Defense Headquarters, Major General Christopher Musa takes over as the 18th Chief of Defense Staff. He urges the service chiefs and their subordinates to work together.
It's a duty call on all of us. This is a challenge to all of us, not me alone as a CDS, because I can't do it alone. Everybody has a role to play, including the citizenry. We must work together.
It's a similar ceremony at the Army Headquarters where Major General Taoreed Lagbaja takes over command as the 23rd Indigenous Chief of Army Staff. He notes the enormity of the task ahead of him while calls for more commitment from the officers and men of the Army.
I promise that I shall discharge my responsibilities as the Chief of Army Staff with fairness, merit, and hard work shall be duly rewarded, while appropriate measures taken to bring back in line anyone that errs.
The focus shifts to the naval headquarters, where Vice Admiral Awa Gambo hands over office to Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala.
I assure Mr. President that I will do my utmost to uphold the trust he has put on me.
In the coming days, the new chiefs will be promoted and decorated by the President. Fon ACN, TVC News, Abuja.
Of course, that is the annual ceremony of the new service chiefs as they take over the mantle of leadership to steer Nigerians in terms of security. Mr. Dickson Osajie, are you there with me?
Sure, please.
Yeah, so there's been a lot to talk about in terms of oil theft, most especially in the Niger Delta region. And some persons have said for this administration to really nip it in the bud, there must be a real fight in terms of curbing the oil theft in the Niger Delta region. Do you see these, being achieved as these the new service chiefs take mantle of leadership?
Well, the issue of oil theft has been a global issue of discussion due to the fact that a former warlord was seen in the seat of power addressing the press conference and also alleging that the military authority, the Nigerian military, are responsible for most of the oil theft, 99% of the oil theft. For me, I think that wasn't necessary for him to say so in the seat of power. He could have said it anywhere else because he can't be abusing the Nigerian state rights, the Nigerian military rights in the seat of power. That is to my own opinion. Everybody has the freedom of speech. He should have just, say it in his home or whatever the case may be, not coming to the seat of power. Because that is also going to put us in a negative limelight as well. Because, we're talking about terrorism all this while Nigeria being on the Global Terrorism Index. It's based on what the GTI gathers, the information they gathers. So right now, if the whole world is aware that Nigerian military are criminals, or the Nigerian military is a criminal setup, then it's going to be a negative one for our own image. And we must be very careful how we brand our image and reputation in front of the international community. Then he has said it all and is subject to investigation. Sometimes when someone complains whether the person is a criminal or not, that complaint is a subject of investigation. So the president should set up a board of inquiry to look into the allegation made by Asari Dokubo on why those who sworn an allegiance to protect the Nigerian state have turned back to embezzle the Nigerian state as well. The Board of Inquiry should be looking at those involved, the actors that are involved. For me, I think I personally believe that there's an element of truth in that allegation, in the sense that we have checkposts in our waterways. The military are there, the Nigerian Navy are in our waterways, protecting our waterways from sea piracy and sea robbery. The Nigerian Army are also by the creek side and also by the riverine area, protecting Nigeria from external and internal aggression as well. So if we have the service, the military and the other security agents in such waterways and in our oil prone area, how come this criminal act is being carried out successfully without being detected? So that calls for a subject. That's a subject of investigation in the other part. And anyone caught after the conclusion of this investigation must be dealt with decisively, so that every soldier and every officer serving this great nation must know that we give them, we put the trust of the protection of trust in their hands, so they are not expected to betray the Nigerian state. That I see as a betrayal, that I see as a treasonable offense, because this amount of oil you are smuggling and diverting illegally to other parts of the country, going to sell it very cheap, which I believe you are suffering and robbing Nigeria from its own economic development and economical growth. So I think that is a subject of investigation. Then secondly, the president should ensure that that environment should be camera-driven. Because most times we fail to understand that for you to achieve security, you don't just achieve security based on security, military might or policing might or physical might. There are three measures in achieving security. The physical measures, which has to do with our soldiers, our officers and men deployed in our waterways. Then also technological measure as well. We need to start looking at technological measures. So most times in the advanced world, you hardly see soldiers by the creekside or by the waterways protecting. No, they are driven by the protection system is driven by CCTV. That is technological measure. Whereby why you have the whole essence of CCTV is just for two reasons. One, to protect crime in progress. Crime in progress in the sense that if any officer or any soldier, is supporting the illegal bunkering in the Niger Delta, the camera will see what is happening. And from the command control center, they will be able to send dispatch to go to that very location or where that crime in progress is taking place. And if nobody is caught along the line, then you have to review the CCTV. That is post-mortem analysis after the occasion of crime. So these are the two factors, the two benefits of CCTV, curtailing crime in progress and after the occasion of crime, if that crime in progress was not curtailed. So I think the government should be looking at technological-driven approach in our waterways, in our oil-prone environments, so that people don't think they can just come, smuggle our oil and allow Nigerian people to continue to suffer. We can't have a nation that is blessed with natural resources, and we have a lot of Nigerians migrating from this country to other countries for greener pasture. This administration must put a stop to that, and everyone found liable must be dealt with decisively.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dickson. Mr. Olabode, Mr. Dickson talked about maybe it's not what Asari Dokubo said at the press conference, probably shouldn't have been said because of the image of the country. Some people, of course, might disagree with that opinion because they feel that probably the military and the people who are in terms of stealing the oil are working hand in hand. That's their opinion. But there's something that you also said, probably I just need to correct you on that. I'm very sure you wanted to say terrorists disturbing farmers on their farmland, not Fulanis. I'm very sure that's what you want to say.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about
yeah. Okay. So okay, but going on, when the new IG, Kayode Egbetokun, of course, took over office, one of the things that he said was that misconduct, corruption, and abuse of power would no longer be tolerated. But some Nigerians have also said that it was sending a warning, to some Nigerians. But some Nigerians have also said, if you are sending these warnings to the larger society, also send the warning to your men on the field who also abuse power on the field. What's your take on that? And how realistic, do you think that we can actually actualize this in the real sense of it?
I said before, the amount of rot on the ground is so huge, it's so pervasive, is everywhere, and it's a problem. And none of our wishes, dreams, and aspirations can work in isolation. We need to understand that, for example, let me quickly go to the issue of the oil theft and that kind of thing. Here we have a seriously porous arrangement that everything is just like open, and not ordinary person around the area can take a bucket or can even take a hammer and a chisel, put hole in the pipeline and all that kind of thing. I mean, when you look at how such a most important part of money making arrangements is coming from, they are properly fenced, they are properly they are computerized. You can see if a cockroach, if anything goes around to disturb anything. We don't have that. And again, most of our crime, most of what we discuss, most of what we are talking about in governance in Nigeria is all about symptoms. And I think the cause and causes of a problem, if they are not dealt with, the symptoms will already be there. A good example is this issue of policing. If you say, again, I'm sorry, we need to say this. These are part of our job as a public and whatever affair commentator. We need to say exactly as it is. Now, the police in Nigeria is sometimes it can be very, very distressful. It can be very, very disgracing. And a lot of things need to be done to address all these differences where you find the police wearing slippers, where you find the police asking for peanuts as a bribe, all that kind of thing. You wouldn't dare to do that in America or in the UK or some other civilized country, because police is one of the most important agency, commission or whatever that does more of the governance. So in our country, we still don't have that kind of culture. We leave the police just to fed sometimes for themselves by themselves. And this is not going to help or enhance good policing in Nigeria. Going back to the oil theft again, yes, that Adari and Dokubo was making his own press conference or whatever. It has its own merit. It has other disadvantage. Ordinarily, this is not his job. He should have not been allowed to do that kind of thing. If he has that kind of information, they are very, very sensitive information. That kind of information should have been shared or paired with the appropriate authorities, not him holding a gun and making that kind of announcement. If everybody were to be doing that, they're going to be more chaotic. And I'm sure that that kind of thing will not be allowed again. I can imagine that it's not going to happen again. So, but on a more larger situation, the structure of the country in virtually all aspects of life need to be revisited, need to be reconsidered, need to be redesigned. They need to be, put back into minimum basic level. And it is then when that is a basic level, that is then we can start thinking of getting results. And again, I say this is not praising President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is so far so good. He's doing a great job. He's making efforts to see that at least he wants to reverse. He wants to make sure that those bad areas are now covered and they are fixed. And when they are properly fixed, then we can start getting a result. Again, the oil theft thing. It is because the level of porosity, why, how many people are manning that area instead of the military manning and then reporting or being monitored. When you do that kind of thing, if you look at a place like Saudi Arabia, that sort of area is computerized. You can't do anything silly like what is obtainable in some African countries. So all these are the things that we need to do, and government needs to invest in this kind of a structure and put the system in place that makes it so difficult that on average, whether you carry armor tank or whatever, you cannot even access the point where those oil is coming out. So without doing that kind of thing, we might be wasting time and money, and expectation will always become to zero because we don't do what we have to do. And those are big issues. And I want to believe that this government is hearing what we are saying, is listening to the opinion of different format, different people, and they can put it into use. Again, let me summarize. The social security of the ordinary people is very, very important. It's key. It's very, very important. Without them, again, because government for the people, and you need to carry the people along. They also need to play a role of, this is my thing, I want to protect it, and so on and so forth. Without having that kind of thing on the ground, it might make life a little bit more difficult.
Okay, Mr. Dickson, we're still going to stay on these oil thefts, and I'm going to quote something from the chairman, Federal Government Special Investigative Panel on Oil Thefts and Losses, Major General Barry Idiomo, recently called for the review of security architecture and the oil-rich Niger Delta region, and that there should be a restructure in that region of the security architecture in that particular place. How best can we do this, knowing fully well that that's where the source of the money is coming from to fund the Nigerian economy for now?
Well, the last speaker actually gave an example of Saudi Arabia, where it's most likely impossible for you to penetrate their oil well and smuggle such oil well to go and sell in other countries. That's a form of sabotage. Well, for me, if you want to ask way forward in that very environment, I think the way forward is very, very, very simple. It's just for us to, make sure we give people responsibility to carry out the protection strategy. Who do we think have the capability to do that? First of all, we must understand and we must be very careful how we, play with private armies, or private owners of armed group that think they have the capability to protect the Nigerian state. We can see what's happening presently within the Wagner Group and the Russian forces. The Wagner Group, are private armies, and now there's a big problem going on there. So we have to be very careful each time we want to introduce private armies in protecting our waterways and our borderline. If we lose hope in our military, then we are planning to, lose the country called Nigeria. The reason why we are still in existence is because of the capability, efficiency of our military holding our territories and ensure the enemy intent is decimated and they do not succeed in their enterprise. So basically what the present government needs to do, like I rightly said, is to, project security mitigation factors within that given environment and also carry out a penetration test. Penetration test in the sense that is it possible for someone to penetrate? And that is where access control comes to play. Before you get to that very environment or to the very place we have the oil wells or the crude or whatever name you call it, we need to have an effective monitoring system. Monitoring system is, and the people of the world must understand that, hey, there's a monitoring system. And I want to tell you truly that I appreciate what the last government did in the area of setting the crude, what's it called, the ship ablaze, People who come to steal from our waterways, who come to steal our national resources, the very means of their criminal intent must be brought down. And if we start carrying out intensive actions like this, nobody will want to lose his ship for the purpose of for smuggling. Nobody want to lose his property. So we must put that as a front burner. Whatever you see on site, destroy. And anything on site, there needs to be a red alert there. Hey, this very zone is a no-nonsense zone. Anyone seen here illegally might not survive it. When we have strict actions like that and also have an effective monitoring system, listen, one of the best methodology for you to succeed in this approach is to have an effective monitoring and evaluation system. Monitoring system that will tell you from the command control center, hey, there is a crime in progress. This is what you need to do. If it's essential for the government to send in attack helicopters, send in attack helicopters. It is for the government to send in attack troops, send in attack troops to go and fetch these people carrying out these ill activities, so that we'll be able to have a lot of resources and a lot of money. We can't be so blessed with natural resources and blessed with crude oil, and majority of our people are still living in abject poverty. It's not done in any part of oil-rich nation.
Mr. Dixon,
we can't be rich in oil, and we are going through this. So
Mr. Dixon,
government must ensure they carry out an effective protection strategy.
Okay, Mr. Dixon, you talked about the effective monitoring because people have also said, over the years, there have been allegation upon allegation that the military are involved somehow in terrorism. There's been that allegation there. How do you effectively monitor a system where you have a system? The people who are supposed to monitor the system are also part of the system. How do you eradicate that?
Well, sometimes people think it's very difficult for you to do that, and that is where crime and punishment comes to play. Are you with me? Crime flourishes when there is no punishment. The only way for you to eradicate that, when you put people who are supposed to protect the system, stealing from the system, is to carry out an effective punishment mechanism. For example, if you say, hey, Dickson, go and protect this oil-rich environments, and I get there and I start diverting most of this crude oil, whatever the case may be, if I am caught, I should be dealt with decisively. That is what we call specific deterrence, which we send a general warning, general deterrence to the public. So if you are thinking that there's going to be a miracle somewhere, there's not going to be. The only thing we know and we understand is that the same people that are meant to protect this system still have the constitutional right to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria. So the mitigation factor now, which has to do with crime and punishment, if a Major General is caught in line, is caught in that action, and is being dismissed and jailed. No any Major General will want to be dismissed, shamed, and jailed. So the problem why crime has been flourishing is because people tend to commit crime and go scot-free. What is our criminal justice system doing? The police, the court, the prison. Now I can tell you most people commit crime and they are praying to be charged to court. You charge them to court 2-3 years, as the matter is still in court. Maybe they went to prison, no reformation process. So we have a lot to do in this country in the administration of criminal justice system and also in the area of crime and punishment. Punishment is a beautiful thing. Punishment is very essential. So for us to succeed dealing with the military involved in this case, we need to get those that are involved arrested, get them dismissed, and get them jailed. That is going to send a general warning to anyone who think they can come and take crude oil under this administration without being punished.
Okay.
Definitely they will be punished, and the punishment must be severe. That is how crime is being mitigated.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dickson. Lastly, just to get Mr. Olabode's last word, 30 seconds. How critical is the appointment of the Minister of Defense and, of course, the Police Affairs Commission into this security architecture as Nigeria kickstart the security agenda under President Bola Tinubu?
Again, I look forward to seeing a robust cooperation and emboldening arrangements to make sure that all hands are on deck. Ordinarily, in most civilized crime, the Minister of Defense or the National Security Advisor do not need to have been to a military government college or whatever. If they are being there, it's a bonus. But the reality is, from example of one of the former security advisor in America, Condoleezza Rice, she's an academician, and she was a very effective, very well-informed security advisor. So now we have a double qualified national security advisor in the person of Nuhu Ribadu. Is going to do a good job. But what is important is that we need to realize that the chief of staff, the commander, and everything is a key person who knows what he's doing. His overall boss, and there are different layers where the chief of staff of the army, blah blah blah, all that kind of thing. They have a process and procedure before they even get to the president, and that's why the most important part in this defense arrangement is the national security advisor.
All right.
And I'm happy that we have somebody like Nuhu Ribadu. But all quickly, right, before I go, this issue of our borders, our oils, whatever, need to be properly secured. In fact, where possible, nobody should be living around that place.
All
that
right.
place should be catered to only that product we're exporting and so on and so.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the two gentlemen, Olabode Oseni, public affairs analyst in the UK, and of course, Dickson Osajie, a security expert and analyst. Thank you for joining us on the show. And that's our show for today on Standpoint. Join us next week as we bring you stories happening in the world of politics. I'm Ademola Lawrence. Join us this evening for a repeat of the program by 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. tomorrow. Bye for now.